We check in on everybody's biggest fall questions. Plus, Locked On's Top 100 Players is live. Why are there so few Big Ten players in the top 10? And it's Oregon's win total. That's why the flag is there. Let's do it on the Locked On Big Ten Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big Ten Squad, sponsored by Game Time. From USC to Ohio State, from Michigan to Oregon, from Nebraska to Washington, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big Ten weekend. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big Ten Squad.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to this week's Locked On Big Ten Squad. I'm Spencer McLaughlin, your host, neutral arbiter of all things college football. I got that from a buddy here in Oregon. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes is here. Mark Colkin, Locked On USC. Ryan Herrings, Locked On Badgers. Zach Sako, Locked On Nittany Lions, who obviously has the fewest questions of anybody in the Big Ten going into fall camp. Jacob Goins, Locked On Hoosiers. Roman Tomashoff, Locked On Huskies. Jay, off a national championship season, are there questions, or is this season just all gravy for Ohio State?
No, there's definitely questions. Even after winning the national championship, you replaced 14 guys that got drafted, one of them being a starting quarterback, and you got a lot of questions. The biggest one right now for Ohio State is a quarterback position. Will it be Julian Sand or Lincoln Kienholz? I have all season said it's going to be Julian Sand to be the starting quarterback. I think it's a close race, though. A couple years ago, they had the Kyle McCord, Devin Brown thing that went into the regular season. I thought it was kind of silly to have that thing go that far. I think this is going to be closer than that. Not that they will allow it to go into the regular season, but that I think these two guys are really going to have to battle very, very hard over the first 2 weeks of August to really decide who's going to be the starting quarterback for Ohio State.
For those of you that are older in the audience, your hearing aids are not cranked too high. Jay's mic was just figuring out where it wanted to settle there at the beginning of that segment. Mark Colkin doesn't have those problems because microphones are a foreign concept. But Mark, for USC, what's the top question in Los Angeles?
Can the quarterback guru get the best out of Jaden Maiava this year? Because if you can get better quarterback production in 2025, it's going to be able to match up with the defense, and that's going to be a winning combination this year. So the question is, Jaden Maiava, can he be that linchpin to get USC's offense going?
Do you think that he's got the ability to do more than what Miller Moss did last year? Because I never thought Miller Moss was a huge liability for the Trojans last season. I'm not saying he was perfect, but I didn't watch USC's offense last year and feel like he was the problem.
It's a matter of, as Lincoln Riley put it, making better decisions, taking what's there, stop trying to hit a home run when sometimes you only need a single. He's got the physical tools to dominate, to make defenses go, man, I gotta tackle that. He's 6'4", 225. He's got a big arm. He's got the legs to, get outside the pocket. And if you're running the RPO, sometimes you got to keep the ball and keep the defense on it. So if he makes better decisions, doesn't throw to the other team like he did last year. Again, that's just he was new to the system, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Better decisions from Jaden Maiava, better outcome for USC.
You guys can all interpret this however you'd like, but I want to go to my favorite host that's in attendance today, Ryan Herrings of Locked On Badgers. It's not just because he and I share an affinity for Legos, but it's like 99% of the reason. There's something else in there too. Up in Madison, Ryan, where do the questions go? Is it how to keep Luke Fickell off the hot seat with one of the toughest schedules in the country? PFF has it number one in all of college football.
Yeah, I find some of these shows so funny sometimes. There almost needs to be like a Locked On Big Ten blue collar show and then a Locked On like Beverly Hills show. Because like Jake Stevens like, which five-star quarterback is going to win the battle? What are we going to – and USC's like big arm, 6'4" kid. He's going to be – and I'm like, I hope we get to a bowl game. Like, our problems aren't the same. Like, sure. I hope we get to the bowl game. I will say this, one of my biggest offseason questions, I feel like – is already answered. I'm happy to see Jacob here. I thought maybe he would cancel this show and transfer down to do a show at the Division II level. So it's nice to see that he's staying here with us.
Thank you.
This level of competition didn't get too difficult.
Hey, Wisconsin's on our schedule this year. I just want people to realize that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Only because they have to be.
Yeah.
God knows Kurt Cignetti doesn't want to play him.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a ton of questions to answer your question. We have a quarterback question, receiver questions, offensive line. Is the front seven better? I will say, yeah, there needs to be momentum in the program. I think that's the biggest question. Is the new offensive coordinator hire, Jeff Grimes, going from Phil Longo? Does that make this offense look a little more like a typical Wisconsin offense that at least makes sense on the field? I think that's where a lot of eyes are this fall.
When you initially said blue collar versus Hollywood, I thought you were describing us as hosts, not the teams we cover. And I, in my head, started picking like, who's Beverly Hills? Who's blue? Goins is blue collar. Roman's in Seattle. That's Beverly. Jay's in between. Mark is Beverly Hills. Although I don't know which category I fall into there. Let's just real quick go around and say which category you'd put yourself into. I think, given golf is my favorite sport, I think I'm Beverly Hills. Jay?
I go blue collar. That seems like an easy one.
Mark?
Yeah, you were right the first time.
Yeah. I figured. Ryan's the blue collar guy. Seiko, where would you put yourself?
I guess blue collar, yeah.
Blue collar. Goins?
I'll say Beverly Hills just because you said the other way.
Okay. And Roman, blue collar or Beverly Hills? Which
I was literally born in Beverly Hills, so I mean.
Yeah. Well, that answers that question very quickly. Seiko, I think Penn State's got fewer questions to answer than anybody else. So what is at the top of the Nittany Lions' minds as they begin fall camp?
I mean, internally, they're going to have questions, figuring out a few position battles here and there. I would say you still got to figure out wide receiver, safety, a little bit of linebacker, definitely defensive line, because and wide receiver goes in conjunction with pass catcher because Tyler Warren is gone. Kind of the same thing with defensive line. Abdul Carter's gone. So who's going to step up and be that playmaker? It's probably going to be a lot of different people. If I'm being honest, it's going to be a combination, little efforts all together across the defensive line. Same thing with the pass catchers. It's not just going to be one superstar that takes over a game.
Goins, what we know about Indiana is who they don't play in the first 3 weeks, and that's anybody we care about. But for the actual football team, once they go and host Illinois in their first real game and lose to the Illini, what questions are going to remain?
Well, none, because they'll win by 50. No, I'm kidding. There are a lot of questions about Indiana. You bring a ton of people back, but you also bring in a ton through the transfer portal as well. Questions on the defensive side in terms of who's the other corner going alongside D'Angelo Pons, who's the other linebacker going with Aiden Fisher, who's another guy on the defensive line with Michael Kamara. All three of those guys are All-Americans, but you got to have some other dudes on that side. You're going to replace 2 or 3 guys on the offensive line. But the biggest question for Indiana is Fernando Mendoza legit? Can he be what Curtis Rourke was a year ago? If he is, or anything better, Indiana's back in the playoff. Or if he's not, then Indiana's an 8-win football team. The inevitable step back is there, and Indiana fans are going to go on to basketball season.
Roman, your top.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
He said if the quarterback is right and if he's elite, they're back in the playoff. This is the Indiana Hoosiers that no one expects to be in the playoff, but you think your quarterback being elite can get you there? I mean, there's other players on the team that have to play besides the quarterback.
But he's the most important.
Yeah, but if you don't have an O-line or D-line, you're not getting anywhere.
I think all that all comes together, right? The quarterback can't be elite if the offensive line's not elite, right? So I think that all comes together. But if Fernando Mendoza has a year like Curtis Rourke did last year because of all the other things around him, which he has a lot of, then yeah, absolutely, playoffs.
Roman, I hope the top question that Washington's seeking to answer is the offensive line for the sake of Damon Williams' future well-being.
So I want to talk about both sides of the trenches, actually, because that is a really important question. It's something I've talked a lot about with Jed Fish this week, where he feels way more confident in the offensive line this year compared to last year, where he said it on Tuesday that he feels like they're going 10 deep with just guys that they have in terms of talent, which is such a major step forward from where they were last season. We'll see if it actually comes together. I see that look from Jay up there. We will see if it actually comes together on the field this season. But I personally am more concerned with the defensive line because I think they'll find a way to figure it out on the offensive side of the ball. You need to find a way to, and they did a good job bringing in talent through the transfer portal in Ontario Thompson, Simone Pepa, Taitai Uyunglele. They brought in some names on the defensive side through the transfer portal that can make an impact, and they have depth at the position to do so as well. But who cares about what the offense is going to look like if the defense can't stop the run and get off the field on third down, like was the case last season when they finished 15th in the Big Ten in rushing yards allowed and total sacks?
Yet still ahead of where Washington basketball finished. But I just want to point out.
I already know you're terrified of Washington basketball this
year. Well, we're not talking about that yet. The year will be 2034, and there will still be an Uyunglele playing in this wonderful sport. Somewhere, somehow, that's going to happen. The top 100 players in college football don't have enough Big Ten people in there. That is coming up next. First, this episode brought to you by Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that is where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. I'm a golfer, and when I get out on a hot day on the golf course, I've got to make sure I stay hydrated all throughout the day. And Drip Drop is really, really good for that. They've got a bunch of different great flavors that you can have as well to give you that level of hydration you need. Because if you get tired out on the course, a hard game gets even harder. And that is not what we want to do. So right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com. Use promo code LockedOnCollege. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off your order. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Back into the action here on the Locked On Big Ten squad, and we'll get to Oregon's win total to wrap today's show. But here at the network, an exciting thing we rolled out this week internally, our top 100 players in all of college football. I'm going to throw this up on the old YouTube screen here so that our visual listeners can see it. Jeremiah Smith 1, Caleb Downs 2. Boy, Jay, it must be nice to be you at the moment. And, look, we've got Craig Sheeman of Locked On Big Ten. He's joining us here now as well. You were on the second row, Craig, so I couldn't see you there. And how long have you been there?
Just about right at the end of the last segment. I was
okay.
Party. I apologize.
Okay, so 3 minutes you've just been sitting off screen. Nice. We just left him there. I'd like to point out none of you noticed either. I don't know if you have the ability to see. Anyway, couple of Big Ten guys right there at the top, and then none in the rest of the Big Ten. You've got Dylan Stewart at South Carolina, Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame, Ryan Williams, Cade Klubnik, Anthony Hill, Garrett Nussmeier, Colin Simmons, and Keldrick Falk. I just get the sense that Goins is going to have the most insane player that should be in the top 10. So, Jacob, what's missing from this top 10 of the top 100 players in college football?
Yeah, sounded out. It's okay. I think we were talking about Fernando Mendoza just a second ago, right? I think that's where – no, we're not going there just yet. I don't think that Indiana has a top 10 player on this list, but we do have officially a couple inside the top 50, and I think those guys are going to climb higher. I mentioned D'Angelo Pons, Michael Kamara, and Aiden Fisher on the defensive side of the football. I think they're only going to get better this year. They all 4 went the NFL drafts to come back to play at Indiana. So I think those guys are there. Elijah Surratt is on there, and I do really think that Fernando Mendoza can find his way in a top 25 on this list by the end of the season. But no, believe it or not, Spencer, I'm okay. I don't have any disagreements for Indiana guys in the top 10 yet.
Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes. By true or false, by the end of this year, we will look back and say there should have been more Big Ten players inside the top 10.
True. I'll say that's a true statement.
Good take. Any insight as to why you went true there? Feel free to elaborate.
I think the Big Ten's underrated when it comes to individual players. I see Jeremiah Love there. I think Seiko has a statement about why one of his players should be a little bit higher. Garrett Nussmeier at number 8. Maybe. Okay. But I think the Big Ten is going to have a lot more to say once we get into the season about maybe they're underrated, not just as teams in the country, but also as individual players as well.
I want to throw one out there. Does anyone know here in the chat who at the end of the regular season led this magnificent conference in sacks? Does anybody know? Anybody?
Yeah,
Huh?
we do. We get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Roman, did you want to say it? You go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
feel free. Yeah, a guy who is really struggling in some early NFL draft evaluations. But yeah, Matayo Youngalola. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that is indeed. I'm glad you know who he is. He tackled your quarterback like 7 times last year.
Yeah.
Last year in the game. Mark, do you think that USC could have a player get into the top 10 by the end of the season? If so, who would it be?
Well, Mekhi Lemon was the only guy who made the top 100. I think he checked in number 56. Last year's Heisman winner, was a two-way player. Mekhi Lemon is a two-way player. He plays offense, obviously, but he's also a special teams maven. And if he could take his game to the next level, sure, why not? I mean, I would even say if he can put up the type of numbers. I'm not going to compare it to him. I won't compare. If he could put up good numbers, there's a chance that he could be one of those players that gets invited to New York at the end of the year.
Okay, Herrings, I haven't memorized the top 100. Are the Badgers represented here in this list? We don't have to limit it to the top 10 for a blue-collar program such as yourself.
They do have representation. Number 41, Ricardo Hallman, super rock steady cornerback coming back for another year. 45, sorry, I had 41. He should be 41 probably. Let's also be honest here. Like some of these guys, Wisconsin, some of these other schools, Illinois is probably going to fit in this. If these players were at Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, they'd be higher. You have to also win games to kind of rise up these boards to some degree. So I think some players get knocked down a little bit because of that. But yeah, Ricardo Hallman, really, really talented cornerback last year in college, this year. He's a good piece of the secondary. And I think he could rise up a little bit, but physically he doesn't have the elite tools to ever kind of get in that top 20.
Seiko, where'd you feel your Nittany Lions were perhaps overlooked or properly rated? That's an acceptable answer too.
No, I'm good with it for the most part. Drew Aller being within the top 20, Nicholas Singleton top 25. A little surprised, A.J. Harris, Zach Wheatley, but people will figure that out soon enough. So the top 20. Why is Garrett Nussmeier in the top 10?
Yeah.
What?
I'm with you on that.
That is it SEC bias? Is it who?
Good player.
Who got the Nussmeier deserves to be in the top 100. But he is not QB2. He's not top 10. I'm not exactly sure, what justifies Nussmeier. If we're going off of analytics, not everybody agrees with PFF, but this guy was well outside of the top 10 when it came to quarterbacks last season. So I don't know what Nussmeier has done to justify, especially with what he has offensively. LSU is really sound offensively. He's got multiple weapons to work with, and he played, slightly above average. So my grievance there is, why is Nussmeier top 10?
Did you want to see Drew Aller in that spot? Because then we could really get the chat going and heated if we put Drew Aller as one of the 10 best players in college football. That would be spicy.
It's kind of a don't throw stones in a glass house type of situation, because I don't think Drew Aller belongs in the top 10. He hasn't, okay, so what has Nussmeier done? What has Aller done to be a top 10 player? Not enough. I think we can all agree on that. But to say that Nussmeier is a top 10 player and QB2 going into this season, Cade Klubnik absolutely justified as QB1. I'm not sure really where Nussmeier gets his credibility. I had to look it up for PFF just to be sure. He is a passing quarterback, mind you. He's not a dual threat QB. PFF hasn't had him as the 40th best passer a season ago with multiple elite wide receivers. So clearly QB2.
Craig, you're literally representing the Big Ten with your shirt today, as per our usual arrangement, and that's fantastic. I love the Rob Lowe impression. I'm so here for it. Just neutral NFL hat, go to game, pay for ticket, support brand. Did you feel like the Big Ten got a fair shake? Two players in the top two players in the country, and then a little bit more represented here in 11 through 20, but not much.
No, well,
Actually, slightly less.
the first thing I think we really need to admit to all of college football is that when Ohio State is on the football field, whether it's offense or defense, they will have the best player on the field at all times, given that they've gone 1-2 with Smith and Downs. I think you could make a case for Drew Aller to be a little higher. Is he perfect? No, but he's the most experienced quarterback coming back in the country. And with the loftiest of expectations, he made the playoffs last year. I would nudge him up a little, maybe not top 10. And then all summer long, I've heard nothing but Arch Manning. I'm glad to see he's only 31st. I mean, if you do listen to talk radio and media, you would think he was probably the first or second player on this list. And then I'll go back to what Jacob said, not to be an Indiana homer, but I think Elijah Surratt is the best receiver in the Big Ten, not named Jeremiah Smith. So those are a couple of my quick thoughts looking at our top 100 list.
I was hoping you wouldn't put that qualifier in there because I wanted everyone to start shouting at you. I was mentally begging for that to happen, and you let me down by being an informed college football commentator, Craig. Gosh, what an absolute loser this guy.
And by the way, your Ducks, Dylan Thieneman is the best get in the transfer portal. He was,
he's a stud.
30th. Yeah, he's going to be great for the back end of that Oregon defense.
He is a stud. Mateo Uyunglele at 33, I just have to put this out there, is blasphemy of the highest order. It is utterly and completely insane. I hope that this whole thing is screenshotted and showed to Mateo before every game this year. I hope that's part of the pregame ritual for Coach Lanning and company. To wrap this one before we talk more about Oregon later, which Roman is so excited about. Look at his face. He's lighting up. Yeah,
I can tell you just didn't want to get to me because you didn't want to talk about Washington, neutral arbiter of college football.
Not that I didn't want to. I was just okay waiting until the last moment with the possibility we were going to run out of time in the segment. That's all.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Where is the first Husky on the list, and do you think that changes by the end of the year?
I do. Yeah, you actually did show it, Spencer, which shows how little attention
I saw it earlier. I just didn't memorize it.
It's Denzel Boston at number 52. There are 3 Huskies on the list because Jonah Coleman at number 62 and then Takario Davis at number 72 as well. I think all 3 of those guys have the potential to jump into the top 50 at the end of the year, with Jonah Coleman honestly being the most underrated. And I say that as someone who believes that Takario Davis could end up being a first-round pick by the end of the year, because Jonah is someone who's just been so consistent throughout his career. And I think even though he might see a slight downgrade in how many touches he gets this year after getting close to 220 last year, that he could return to being just as efficient he was at Arizona in his sophomore season when he averaged 6.7 yards per carry. And a guy like that, it's nice to see him in the top 5 players at the position that we have in this, where he's the number 5 running back. But I think he's someone who absolutely deserves to be in probably the top 40 at the very least.
I'm going to stand up for, first of all, Kenyon Sadiq, 75. Goodness gracious. You guys will all soon learn. But Luke Altmaier behind Darian Mensah. Look, I'm not going to ask you all where exactly you voted. Just know that I'm going to launch an investigation with the Locked On HR team to figure out how you all voted, to understand who put Luke Altmaier behind Darian Mensah, who I like. I like Darian Mensah, but I will not stand for the Luke Altmaier slander right there. Will I be standing for Oregon slander when we wrap today's show? You'll just have to stick around and find out. Oregon's win total is up. It's the last one in the Big Ten. We've got to take sides. We'll go around. I'll go last because I'm hosting and I feel like going last. So, Jay, Oregon has a win total of 10.5. That's tied for the highest in all of college football, the same as Ohio State. Are you taking them over to repeat, go 12-0, maybe 11-1? Or are you taking them under with a step back?
It's just weird because I was looking at the schedule, and as soon as I saw Montana State, the first game, I thought about the conversation we had about Indiana. I don't know why I'm picking on Jacob today. I have no idea why, but
I'm so here for it, Jay. I support you in all of your endeavors, always.
We've done nothing to you, man. We're just here.
This is true. But I got a little annoyed by it, and then I saw Oklahoma State week 2. I was like, okay, like I can get back and ease off the scheduling for the season, but I'm giving Oregon the same treatment I give everybody. Win, loss, and toss-up. That's kind of how I break things down. I kind of got to go over. The only toss-up games I see are at Penn State, which is a night game, and then, Roman, you'll like this, at Washington. That was going to be a very, very tough game for Oregon, especially at the end of the season. But every other game is winnable. I don't see any games where I'm predicting Oregon to lose. There are 10 wins I have on my paper, 2 toss-up games. I think they're going to split those, and they're going to go 11-1. I hate saying that about you and your team. I hate it.
What did we do to you?
I can't stand it.
We had this great moment in the regular season, and then we let you dog walk them in the Rose Bowl. What do you hate us for? That'd be like, hold on, that'd be like me hating herrings, because Oregon just keeps beating them in the Rose Bowl over the years. We've done it 3 times. We keep doing that. Why would I hate Wisconsin? I love Wisconsin. Wisconsin's my favorite.
As much as I love the Rose Bowl win, there's 2 games that really get under my skin still. That Week 6 loss last year, or Game 6, whatever week it was, that annoys me. And then 2022.
2021.
It was 21. You're correct.
I promise it was 2021.
It was Week 2.
Notice how he's just flexing regular season wins, just for,
That's
all Washington had to win a national championship.
No, they beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I know that's something you're unfamiliar with.
Not really, no, because Oregon's won a Rose Bowl more recently than Washington.
Have national championships. This is boring conversation.
Yeah, you're right, Mark. Yeah, I agree.
I was going to set you up for something nicely, and then Roman intervened. So, Mark, you did you hear what Jay didn't say there? Didn't register USC as a threat to Oregon this year. So 10.5 wins for the Ducks. The floor is yours.
Look, I get Jay has the upper hand against USC with their last meeting, but USC has the hand when it comes to Ohio State. So I understand where some of his animosity comes from. With that being said, I'm looking at your schedule, Spencer. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be objective. You're going to be 3-0, but then those games 4 and 5. I mean, we're talking about emotional games, right? Wouldn't you agree?
I think Penn State a little more so.
One against your rival, the Civil War, and then you got to get on the road and go out to Happy Valley, which is, I don't even know how you get there, but you'll get there eventually.
I suggest an airplane.
Well, it takes you a while to get from the airplane.
It does. I didn't say it was going to be a short airplane ride, but I think that's how they're going to get there.
So I see at least one loss coming out of those 2 games. At Iowa, could be tricky. I'm going under. I'm just going to say, because of your quarterback situation, I'm not a huge Dante Moore fan. I'm still stuck on what he did at UCLA. I don't know if he'll be able to do that. I don't know if you have the depth at wide receiver to support him, which is something to consider. I'm going to say 10 wins. I'm going to say 10 wins, which is
that's fair. I think that's very fair. Very fair. I'm not harping on that. Hi, Ryan. How's it going, man? How's it going? My favorite Locked On Big Ten host over there, Ryan Herrings. Speak carefully with your next words here, my friend. 10.5, Oregon, over under.
Why? First of all, why are we bringing up those Rose Bowls? That is not germane to the conversation. It has nothing to do with it.
Quarterback in the clear.
That being said,
all right, I'm done.
I still think it's over. I just think it's a really manageable schedule. I really do. When you look at, obviously, at Penn State's tough. Everybody knows that. But your next hardest road game is at Iowa. The athletes there aren't going to match up. I see you, Roman. I see you. I still think that's fine.
That's
look at Roman wanting to be included at the big kid table.
That's a wild statement.
We're distracted from the conversation. At Iowa or at Washington, either way, for a program of Oregon's caliber and the way they recruit, both of those are lesser talented teams. They just are. And the other thing I look at really quick, and the other thing I'll point out that I don't think gets talked about enough is, Penn State has a bye right before Oregon comes there. That's a big deal. However, Penn State opens the season with Nevada, FIU, and Nova.
Imagine doing that. What a joke. What an absolute embarrassment to college football.
You're not going to be challenged before Oregon. And I think there's a tricky part there where if you don't get bloodied a little bit before the bull gets into the ring, you can get run over before you realize the season started. And Oregon's going to get bloodied a little bit because Oregon State's going to punch them. At Northwestern that's an easy game, but it's a road game against a Big Ten team. You got to play Oklahoma State. You're going to get hit a couple times as Oregon. I don't know if I want that layup schedule for Penn State to lead right into a battle-tested Oregon team. That's actually trickier than people are thinking. The bye for Oregon's a great spot. I would rather, if I'm Oregon, play in Illinois beforehand to get warmed up. So I think it's over, and I think that spot actually plays out pretty well for Oregon as well as it can be going on the roads.
Rest
You see
versus
why I like
rest.
this guy, Duck fans? This Ryan's just the best. Craig, try and top that, and just know whatever you will say, I won't think of as highly of you as I do of our friend Ryan. That's all.
All right. Well, I have a number, but before, and I know I was late to the party here. Are we just going to gloss over that most of you were in Las Vegas this past week? Is there not one good story, Spencer, Mark, anything, or is what goes on the road stays on the road in Vegas?
I won $200 on a slot machine on my last pull of the week before I went to the airport.
Way to finish strong.
Seinfeld moment in the parking lot trying to find my car.
That's great. All right.
Notice
now,
that Trent Condon's not here. He's the one that hosted a media party, and he did not show up this week. So maybe he never made it.
I accidentally bailed on going on his radio show twice. I forgot. And then I went on the guy who was hosting on the station after. I felt so bad. Like, I was down at the other end of Radio Row, and he was like, yeah, you good top of the hour? Yeah, I'm good. And I just got, like, dialed in because I was editing video clips that I had. And then we were 15 minutes past the hour. I'm like, oh, crap. And then he was like, oh, I'm done for the day. And then he left the next day. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no.
Spencer sucks.
Yeah, that was I can't run away from that. I sucked in that moment. It's not like I was doing something important. I could have done what I was doing at any time. I just got tunnel vision. I had my phone on do not disturb.
all right.
Sorry, Trent.
Having said that, I will tell you, Oregon's going 11-1. They're gonna lose in the whiteout at Penn State. And, maybe there's a tricky game like Iowa at Kinnick Stadium at night, maybe like the Wisconsin game last year or USC or Washington, one of those. But I think they come through. I'm giving them 11-1. I'm taking the over.
Nice. We like that. Good job, Craig. Seiko, 10.5.
What do I get? Like 5 seconds here after everyone got everyone
No,
gets
we
2
go
minutes?
as long as we want. Brandon's not here to kill our vibe and shut us down.
True.
Down with the man, right? So I'll go game by game, just like everybody else did. No, I
was going to shut that down.
Penn State's the tough one. If you're looking at the games, if you're going through hypothetical spreads, this is an 11-1 team because they're going to be favored against everybody except Penn State, barring anything crazy, of course. I do circle that end of the stretch, towards the end of the season, the 2 games, USC and at Washington. Washington will be the best version of itself. Same thing with USC, barring the grueling parts of what could be, a regular 12-game season. But those are teams that, again, the more football they play, the better they are. But the same thing goes for Oregon. So if USC and Washington were back-to-back like that at the beginning of the season, I could see 9-3. But I'm going to go with 11-1 because I think Oregon's also on that same trajectory where their best football is in the second half of the season.
Oregon's November is fun. At Iowa, Minnesota, USC, at Washington. That's a fun after a bye. That's a fun month of football. Goins, I think I know what you're going to say, but I'll let you say it anyway.
Yeah, you will. That's okay. Look, there's not a ton more to say other than between road game at Penn State, home game against Indiana. Yes, I actually believe it could be a tough game, Spencer. And then the road game at Washington, which one that everybody has highlighted. I think Oregon goes 1-2 in those 3 games. I'm going under. I think they could get to 10 wins, but I'm going under 10.5 because of those 3 games, 2 of them on the road, and Indiana will give them a tough fight. I think Oregon's a good team. They're making the playoff, and I'm going under 10.5.
Roman, I dare you to pick Oregon to go 8-4 on the air while this is being recorded. I dare you. I dare you.
I
man.
really want
Do
to.
it.
I can't do that. Like that's too homer even for me.
Okay,
good.
There's a line.
Under.
Good to know there's a line. That's all.
There is a line.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're going under. They're losing at Penn State, and then I look at Iowa because this is a really easy schedule. Like you've just walked into the Big Ten, just like gotten this insanely easy schedule. But having Illinois, I get you get that game at home. I do think Indiana is going to be a tough out. USC at Washington.
Illinois is not on Oregon's schedule this year.
Oh, they're not. Oh,
He meant Iowa.
I did mean Iowa. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Continue.
Either way, I look at the schedule and I do think they're going under. I think there are a lot of questions that people aren't talking about because they're looking at the talent ratings and saying, oh, of course this is going to work out. Of course that's going to work out. Oregon lost so much production from last season. Yeah, Dante Moore is probably going to be able to complete, an average of 6 yards per completion because that's what Oregon's offense is going to ask him to do. It's not hard or anything. But I just look at how much talent is coming in. And yeah, again, the rankings are there in terms of what the talent can be. Is it going to come together on the field? I have some questions.
Okay. Can you guys smell the copium wafting through to your rooms from Roman's setup over there? Can you guys smell? Because it's made its way down to my neck of the woods in Oregon. It's so incredibly potent. He's just...
Roman, you know win situation, so you should have just gone for the gusto. 8-4. Just
I did think about it, but this is why Spencer put me at the end, so he didn't really want to give me a chance to rebut, and we can have a back and forth. So
I put you there by complete and total randomness. I added everybody to the chat. Okay, well, everyone's not in exact order.
Good thing
but
is the host of Locked On College Football, which means he does not get a say. We are out of time. We appreciate you.
How wrong you are. You don't control anything that happens here, Jacob. Learn your place. Roman, I was saying that I added everybody randomly because Jay and Mark and Ryan were added in order. But then it goes Goins and you and Seiko, so I subconsciously put you at the end.
Yeah, no, I know.
I swear I didn't do it on purpose, but I was like, that just worked out that way. Wow, that's funny how that works. I'll close with these particular thoughts. Neutral arbiter of college football, though I am. Like I said, I got this from a friend, and the helmet and the duck thing. I've never had either one of those things on my nightstand before.
Your other personality.
So, yeah. My innie, as you'd call it, in the what's the show?
Severance?
Severance. Yeah, that's the one. It is an incredibly favorable schedule. I think Vegas would have put Oregon at 9.5, but the schedule works out very well. And a lot of their tougher games, like USC or at Washington or at Iowa, as I mentioned, like that November is a pretty solidly tough November. The good news for a team, to your point, Roman, and I've pointed this out as well, they're replacing a lot from a year ago. I think they've done well in the portal. They've recruited and retained recruiting classes very well. Dan Lanning the other day talked about it as kind of having 3 phases of the season because of how the byes work out. They have a bye right after Penn State. They have a bye right before Iowa in the last week of October. I think phase 3 of Oregon, like Seiko said, will be its best. That's when it will be required. And I'm not going out there and picking them to lose any game except Penn State. I think a lot's going in the Nittany Lions' favor, and that's, of course, my preseason #1 team in the Big Ten. So, over! Give me the over all day, every day. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes. Mark Colkin, Locked On USC. Ryan Herrings, Locked On Badgers. Craig Sheeman, Locked On Big Ten. Zach Seiko, Locked On Nittany Lions. Jacob Goins, blurry as hell, but he's Locked On Hoosiers. Roman Tomashoff, Locked On Huskies. That's this week's Locked On Big Ten squad. Appreciate everybody listening. We'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.